I'm John Miglash for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. The trouble is, I'm getting better at gathering news and not so good at weeding through it. And I'm going to have to start getting up at, before 8 to get this done. Anyway, let's start out with I went looking for Tom's cartoon because his email, I don't always check it. So let's get over here to hit this. Your friends are in terrible danger. But what we sell has nothing to do with their friends. This is the headline. The clickbait. Is that email subject line really the best approach? Yes, we've already proven that in A/B testing. Open rates scored much, much higher. Right now, we're only testing the optimal number of exclamation points. Look at this. 3 exclamation points. It was interesting because I found a personalization article, and I just closed it because it was a little bit long and had lots of detail. But basically what it said was, if you use personalization and you use a high click headline, you may get better opens, but you may not get as good a click through to the real product you're trying to sell. And in fact, what they tested was a generic headline, subject line, and they found that while the open rates were much higher, the click-through rates were much lower because people were mad. They said, this isn't personal, this is just a sales pitch. Whereas when they used a generic open, the opens were lower, but the click-throughs and the sales subsequently were much higher. So my point is that here you've got the right there, the exclamation points. I went back from the back here. Yes, you may find a difference. It's probably not statistically valid, but you may find a difference in the open rates with one exclamation point versus 3. But the key to data-driven marketing, and I'll say direct marketing, not because it's direct, because it never was, but because it laid the foundations, or we can call it scientific advertising by Claude Hopkins. One of the important points is to think, what are the most contextually important issues you want to test? And oftentimes, what gets tested and what is important are way far apart. And as I said, if you want somebody to help you with your testing, give me a call or email john@wdma.org. Okay? So anyway, let's go over to AI in retail. I like this article. Is AI real? The reason I like this article is because I've been searching forever to try and find one good example of AI actually delivering something. Why do I say that? Well, because over here's an article published on Friday. Many companies claim success, but a new study by Pactera Technologies says 85% of artificial intelligence projects fail. And, senior management doesn't like it, but why? Because they're not seeing value in the project. Boiled all down. The 2 examples cited, one was AI Watson, where they bid like $4 million, and after $62 million in billing to the University of Texas Houston Medical Center, I think it was, after $62 million, they found out that their diagnoses weren't any better and didn't save anybody any time. And the main problem is lack of focus on business. Uber's also fail. They ran over somebody. The car didn't slow down. Lack of focus on business goals and lack of data quality. They start by collecting all available data and then looking for a way to use it. Right. And that's just the wrong approach. And I've been doing this for 25 years. We didn't call it AI. We didn't even call it predictive modeling. We just thought, we ought to be able to figure out how a mailing worked and then use what we found to make a mailing better. And it works like crazy. Big ROI. But we use a very limited data set, and we're very careful to weed out stuff if it doesn't make a bit of sense. So let's go back to AI in retail. Okay, so retailers view AI as a strategic game changer, but AI isn't in the top 3 priorities for anybody. Okay, so there were 3 presentations this guy attended Jim Shea, and the first was from Rue21. I've never been in a Rue21, so I don't know much about it. But they said that they found out from their AI application that product assortment was a top issue for the company's targeted customer segments. Now, there's probably simpler ways to do this, and probably with more sound back-end information, but let's just say that told them. Then they were able to quickly determine what products would appeal to these targeted customers. Rue was able to use AI to understand why certain products didn't resonate with the customers, allowing design changes to be made before launch. Basically, it shortened its supply chain from 270 to 300 to 90, so it cut it by a third about, and margin improvements of 600 basis points. I always love that because, I think if I'm right, and I'm not in the financial world that much, but that's 6%. But 600 basis points sounds a lot more than 6%. Okay, so Dr. Crystal says he attributes the turnaround to leveraging analytics. Yes, but he is in charge of analytics, so I would guess that he would say that. Okay, then here's another one. The 3 C's of retail: connected, context, and community. I don't know what this talk was about, but what I was impressed with was Walmart is using AI-driven robots in its stores to track and manage inventory, upload inventory from trucks, and pick and pack orders. The robots have enabled Walmart to improve its inventory accuracy and ensure the right products are in the right place at the right time. So I was in Walmart on Saturday and trying to buy some ammunition. And nobody was there, and I found out if you hit the keypad enter key 3 times, someone will turn up, and someone eventually did turn up, and then the right person eventually turned up. And the only reason it was better than direct mail was because it, cut a couple of days out of the process, but it wasn't great. But anyway, maybe I needed to get a robot to unlock the cabinet because I was pretty sure what I wanted. Anyway, here's a footwear example. Isn't this great? I got 3 solid examples on AI. Okay, Hush Puppies sells in 86 different countries. And Hush Puppies' recent sell-in results included an 88% increase in style adoption and a 39% increase in the pairs of shoes ordered. And this is probably the shoe store's order, my guess. It doesn't really say sales. Okay, so Hush Puppies is using AI and customer analytics to understand what customers want in markets across the globe. Again, this is probably a pretty good application because it's a complicated mess. And I have a friend, Joe, and he did this for Sears around the country where they measured what was actually selling in each store and were able to improve quite dramatically the amount of the right stuff in the right store. And the right stuff in the right country seems like an equally valid case. Okay? So that said, let's go over here to just a little section on purpose-driven hypocrisy. And this guy says it doesn't work. And this is where I wanted to get to, because this is actually the meat of the article. Brand purpose is a myth based on bad analysis. It started with former P&G Chief Marketing Officer Jim Stengel's book, Grow. Jim Stengel selected a bunch of companies, and he said, see, these top companies are also top with customer loyalty. Okay, Stengel's logic is a perfect example of survivorship bias. What survivorship bias is like you've all heard that dolphins push survivors to shore, right? Why? Well, because they maybe do. Now, they may equally push survivors out to deep ocean, but you won't hear those stories because they didn't survive. So it's circular is the problem. Yeah, top brands have top loyalty. The other ones went under. You don't know what their loyalty was because they went under. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. Stengel's book has come in under a lot of fire because somebody went out and bought all the 100-year-old brands like ketchup brands and bacon and beans brands, and tastes change. It's not just the length of the brand's existence, and now they're in a lot of trouble. Okay, and also it doesn't work necessarily there isn't a strong connection between what your purpose is that you're promoting to everybody. Conservatives were 13% more likely than liberals to visit pro-environmental outlet Patagonia. Liberals were only 3% more likely than conservatives to visit Ben and Jerry's. Conservatives are 8, because Ben and Jerry's has good ice cream. I mean, face it. And they also have vegan ice cream, which I've had, and it's really pretty good. Okay, conservatives are 8% more likely than liberals to visit Starbucks. Maybe because they have more money, and you have to have a lot of money to go to Starbucks. Anyway, so, all these simplistic views, you got to be really careful, right? What does AI help with? AI does help with complex tasks to glue it back together. I know a lot of companies that do elaborate testing and never have the time to bring it back. That's a place we could probably apply AI more. And that's part of what we do. We take about 300 to 400 variables, sometimes 500, and we apply them to your marketing, your campaign. We see how the results worked with those 500 variables instead of the 10 that you're used to. And sometimes we see surprises. So we gain two ways. One, we see the results in light of lots of more variables. Two, we get surprises that we can test and leverage, and we get explosive growth. I'm John Miglautsch. Have a great day. Send this to your friends. Likes are nice, but friends show you care, and they'll think you're a smart guy.